green room. Let's start the countdown to Studio 8. Well, good evening and welcome to pjnet.tv. Gosh, I'm glad you're here. I am Coach Prasick, and it is my honor, privilege, and joy to sit on this plywood box in this barn and bring to you stories of everyday Christians who just simply share their walk with Christ. And tonight, we have a special guest. This is a pre-recorded edition, but we have partnered with vinewords.net, a team actually, not a group, of about 16 authors and writers, and they are embarking on an amazing ministry at vinewords.net. And among the team members, you will find Martin Wiles, who joins us from the great state of North Carolina. And now it's Dr. Martin, is that correct? Did I?
And it's South Carolina.
What did I say? Texas?
North Carolina.
What's the difference? Geography. Yeah.
One's south.
One's lower and one's upper. You're up. Oh, got it. Well, Martin, your story is an incredibly boring experience of a lifelong Christian raised in the church. Father was a preacher. So you really don't have a testimony, but try to give one anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I did grow up as a PK, so I was always in church, even before I was born. So just, familiar with church language and church talk, it was just a part of my life. Going to church most of the time, 3 times a week, it was just what I did, and it was all I ever knew. But, of course, I later learned that didn't make me okay with God just because I knew all the right stuff. So and when I was 9, this would have been in 1969, when I was 9, we lived in a church home that was right next door to where my father pastored. And so one day I remember that he told me to come down in his home office there. He wanted to talk with me a little bit. So he did, and he explained to me about sin, which I'd heard many times. He explained to me about God, which I had heard many times, and explained to me about Jesus. And I remember that he drew me a little picture on a piece of paper that was on his desk, and he put God on one side, and he put me on the other side, and he put sin in the middle. And he explained to me how my sin kept me separated from God, and which, meant that I couldn't go to heaven when I died because, at 9 years old, it's not a whole lot of theological stuff you can explain. But, having heard about heaven, that was what he used at that time. And so then he explained to me how God had loved me enough to send Jesus to die for my sins. And he put the cross in between that gulf between me and God and showed me how the horizontal part of the cross bridged that gulf. And he didn't really tell me anything that I hadn't already heard, but the difference is that he asked me did I want to accept what Jesus had done? And of course, I said yes, and so my, true journey as a believer began when I was just a 9-year-old child.
That is about the right timing, and I think your father exercised good discernment in finding that age where you could fully understand. Let me get your take on this. You've actually pastored some churches. There's been a trend that I've noticed, and I wanted to get your honest opinion on this because I have a different one, I think. You will see parents holding the hand of their child walking down to the altar to accept Jesus. When my daughter got to the age of accountability and had that similar conversation with her, I told her that next step is to make that public. And I will not walk down there with you. I said, I can't do this for you. I said, I will join you once you're down there, but you have to step out and you have to do this. What's your thoughts?
Well, I did the same thing with my kids. They were around the same age as I was, and in fact, my daughter, I think, was about 8. I actually didn't even talk with her. We'd already put her to bed one night, and not long after we tucked her in, she came back in and told me and her mom that she had just prayed to receive Christ in her heart. And of course, she grew up a PK too, so she had heard all the story, and
she knew the drill. Mm-hmm.
And so we shared with her that she needed to be baptized, and she needed to come forward and make it public and all that. And she's a very independent spirit. And so at 8 years old, that Sunday, I mean, she just pranced right down by herself. It wasn't an issue for her. And our son was around about the same age with him. It happened at Vacation Bible School, as it often does. Mm-hmm. And so his teacher had already talked with him, but then she sent him to me, along with the others who were interested. And so he did the same thing. So yeah, I did not walk down the aisle with either of mine. Obviously, I was preaching, so I couldn't have. I agree with you. I think that's and I'm sure it's kind of unnerving for a child at that age, but.
Well, for other parents, it's certainly not my call on their decision. But what I wanted to make sure is, Satan at some point later is going to try to cast doubt on your decision. And,
right.
And I didn't want Satan to be able to say, your dad took you down there. You didn't,
right.
You're not, so I just wanted, and I wasn't trying to make it hard on her or more embarrassing. I just wanted her to be absolutely certain of herself. Now, you, like I, about 15, you get that driver's license, and you get away from the house a little bit, and you get a little freedom, and make some new friends.
Mm-hmm.
And life changes.
It does, and it did. Yeah.
How bad were you, Martin?
Well, I can't share all that. I teach middle schoolers and have for about 7 years at a local Christian school. And when they think they're getting away with things, I often say to them, you're not going to do anything that I hadn't ever done. So don't think you're going to get away with anything.
Mm.
I think about the Bible verse, bad company corrupts good morals. And so for me, it was about 14, just prior to getting my license, when I kind of got tired of being a preacher's kid, and I got tired of the expectations of church people, expecting me to act a certain way, talk a certain way, etc. And so when I was 14, I set out to show the world and my parents and people in the church that my dad pastored how bad I could be. And it was a downhill journey. Didn't start out too bad, but it got worse as I began to accumulate friends who did the kind of things that I thought I wanted to do and lived the kind of lifestyle I thought that I wanted to live. So, from 14 to, throughout my high school years, it was really bad, involved in, a lot of stuff. This was the 1970s. So, there's a lot of stuff that was going on in the 1970s. So I was, just fell right into a lot of that.
We're the same age, Martin. I know very well.
Yeah. And so, it just got continually worse. Now, when I got out of high school and went to work, calmed down a little bit, but still was not where I needed to be with the Lord, and still, not living like I should have. So it was about, I was about 23 before I, got back on track, and the Lord finally got a hold of me, and, I started living.
Reeled you back in. Yep. Martin, our stories are similar in so many ways. I'm about a year older than you are, I think, but the the interesting thing is, we recently went to a class reunion, and all the old drinking buddies and the Hellraisers and all that. One there, well, the question always comes up: what are you doing now? Ministry.
Yeah.
And they get this like jaw drop.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them what they're doing, and they'll say, "Yeah, me too."
Yeah. Yeah.
And a few of them are still hanging on. They never quite figured it out, but it's quite shocking years later, because it actually should not be shocking at all. The Scripture tells us that if you raise them up, it doesn't say they'll never depart from it. In fact, it says they will. But it gives you a foundation. It gives you that anchor to come back to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. So what turned it around, Martin? 23 years old, got a few bills, or married? What happened?
I guess that, back when I was about 12, I felt like the Lord, well, I was sure the Lord wanted me in ministry, but all the teenage rebellion interfered with that. I always think back to something that Dr. Charles Stanley says sometime, and of course, it's not so much true with radios now because we have satellite radios, but back in the day when you had to be close to a radio station to pick it up, and if you got too far away, you started getting static, and eventually you'd lose the station. That for me, that's kind of what it was. All the rebellion became static, so I wasn't hearing too clearly during that time. So I think what brought me back was first having to make that turnaround, or let God help me make that turnaround, and then I heard that call that I had heard a good many years before. So,
well, what's very comforting, and as people hear this, Martin, I hope they may be living in a worldly or sinful lifestyle, or even rebellious lifestyle, and you can run away from God, but you know what? You can't ever be beyond His reach. No matter how far you run, He's right there with you. You don't have to backtrack and find your way home. You can reach out to God and be home right then, right there, and He'll walk with you back home. Because there was a point in my life, maybe you had similar feelings, that I've been so bad, that I am so wretched, so depraved, God would never take me back.
Yeah, to be sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel that way. Now that voice that you're hearing is not coming from God, because God will take you back. He will, He will never leave nor forsake us once we are His. And so 23 or so, you finally grew up and became a responsible adult, and everything's been hunky-dory since then. Is that it?
Well, in my walk with the Lord, yeah, pretty much so. Smooth sailing, no. There's been a lot of trials and hardships and financial struggles and all that along the way, but no, not everything's been smooth sailing since then.
You ever regretted it?
No, because you have, as you mentioned, you've got that foundation to come back to, and you've got that foundation you built on, and it's.
Well, Martin, I'm gonna make a confession. When I was out living like hell, I was enjoying every minute of it. But I found out something is that you do this, and then you got to do a little bit more. You got to do a little bit more. You got to get deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And my testimony is this: if the world would have delivered on even half of what it promised, I might still be living that way.
Yeah.
But it really is a dead end.
It is. Yeah. Because I did, I enjoyed what I was doing, and I enjoyed trying to be as bad, as I could, and showing folks how bad a preacher's kid could be.
Mm-hmm.
Hung around with a lot of deacons' kids who were equally as bad as I was. That's an old saying in the church, but in reality, it was a deacon's son who got me started down the path I took.
On
So
the wrong path. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's fast forward a little bit, Martin. Today, you're doing well. You're pretty darn active, and I don't know all the things, but I do know this. You shared with me that, like many people, you have a website. But unlike many people, and I'm going to put that website up on the screen, lovelinesfromgod.com, unlike so many websites, if you go there today, you'll see something, and I'll let you share what's there. But here's what's different. If you go there tomorrow, there'll be something new.
That's correct.
Unbelievable.
This was a journey probably that started probably in 2009, about the same time that I started my writing journey, which was just after my father had passed away from heart-related surgery and an infection that developed after that. And I don't know what the connection with the two was. Dad was not a writer, even although he hand wrote every sermon he ever preached during his entire ministry. But as far as in the publishing world or anything like that, he wasn't. So I don't know what the connection with that was, but it was just after he died that I felt like the Lord wanted me to step into the writing world, and that website became a part of that. And so, it is designed. Our main tag on there is encouragement. That's what it's built around. Is a lot of the stories on there are based on personal experiences of mine. It's not a journal, but it is very transparent. I don't really hold back on sharing things that I've been through and what the Lord's taught me through those things. So it is to encourage people who are just, everyday believers who are just struggling with life. And, maybe it's not sin, maybe it's financial stuff, maybe it's relational stuff, whatever, employment stuff, whatever. And so, that it's all about encouragement. They're designed to be uplifting. They're not designed to be preachy. In fact, I strive not to be preachy on there. Written in, very conversational tone, not judgmental. And I post on it Monday through Saturday. I take one day off, and of course I have many years of devotions, that I've written, and so these are not some that I have to write 6 days a week to get, but it's some, that I've worked on along and along. But yep, it's something fresh on there 6 days a week.
And in addition to that, you've published several books, but your most recent one is A Whisper in the Woods.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This kind of came about. I've published several devotional books. This one came about I don't know, when I was in my early 30s, I started doing something that I had not been successful doing all my life, gaining weight. And so I had just moved to another church, and it was closer to the mountains than I had lived previously. So my brother and I decided that we would start hiking and backpacking and camping, and so we did that for several years. And, I've done some since then, but not extensively like we did over about a 3-year period. I've done some with my daughter and wife and son. So this book actually is a compilation of experiences that I've had along with others who've hiked with me, camping, backpacking, hiking, and how God has use them. It's kind of about how we can connect with God in the solitude of places that you can't get to with a car, or in places that are off the beaten path. And so all of them, have stories of journeys that I've been there, and Bible verses to go along with that, and some type of application for something that God has taught me, or something that any of us can learn through being out in the woods with Him.
Well, I used to be quite the outdoorsman myself, but I always had a gun. Uh, Today, I like getting out without the gun and just enjoying, like I said, there's a peace that comes over you if you will get out there and let it. Martin, we are out of time, but I did want to mention that you are a member of the Vine Words team. Tell us about that briefly.
I'm actually the managing editor for the website ChristianDevotions.us, and Diane Cuneo, who is over the Vine Words, actually was one of our writers there, and that's how I first came into contact with her, was through that. And then she actually, I got to meet her at the Asheville Christian Writers Conference last year, and she told me about the website that she had begun, Vine Words, and invited me to, become a contributor to that. And so that's kind of how that started.
I'm real excited about what they are doing under her leadership, and she's assembled quite a team.
Yes,
and you are not alone in a pretty stellar list of people, including some newcomers. And that's what I'm excited about for the new year. Martin, thank you for sharing with us, and it's just a great word to know. That God is with us even when we try to run from Him. He's right there. And appreciate your transparency and being candid and not trying to just sugarcoat it. It was good to hear, and we appreciate you bringing that to us. And we'll have to do this again sometime.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks. Martin Wiles right here on pjnet.tv. There is a view of the Eagle's Nest studio, and as much fun as that was, the fun's not over. We do this at 9 p.m. Eastern and then again at 9:30 Eastern, Monday through Thursday. We have something special on Fridays. Folks, but it's almost time for me to go, but before I go, I would like to ask you to ask yourself two important questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And secondly, when was that? Folks, in living out the Great Commission and making disciples, we must walk boldly. And I certainly hope that none of us would ever be satisfied with our answers to either of those two questions.